This is Mr. Eugene, and today I'm giving you the verbal code that instantly flips the power dynamic in relationships where you've been reduced to a servant, but most of you will be too scared to ever use it, and that's exactly why you'll stay stuck. You know that moment at a party when you suddenly realize everyone else coupled up and left, and you're standing there alone, holding a warm beer, looking at empty pizza boxes, understanding you've been abandoned without anyone saying a word? That's the exact feeling most men live with every day in their relationships. Abandoned while she's still sitting right next to them. The words I'm about to give you are so powerful, so devastating to the female ego that your hands will shake before you say them, your voice will crack, your heart will pound. Every instinct will scream at you to back down, apologize, retreat to safety. And if you listen to those instincts, you'll stay exactly where you are. Walking on eggshells in your own life, asking permission to see your own friends, apologizing for breathing too loud, slowly disappearing until you don't even remember who you were before her. I've seen this pattern destroy thousands of men. He walks into the relationship standing tall, full of confidence, his own person. 6 months later, he's checking his phone nervously when he's out with friends. A year later, he's apologizing for things he didn't do. 2 years in, he doesn't even recognize himself in the mirror. She's completely reprogrammed him. And the sickest part? He thinks this is love. He thinks this constant walking on eggshells, this endless need for her approval, this suffocating control, he thinks this is what committed relationships look like. He thinks suffering equals depth. He thinks sacrifice equals devotion. But here's what's actually happening. Every time she tests you and you fail, every time she pushes and you bend, every time she threatens and you beg, you're not saving the relationship, you're killing it. You're murdering her attraction one weak response at a time. Because deep in her DNA, deeper than any feminist ideology or modern relationship advice, she needs you to be stronger than her. And every time you prove you're not, a little piece of her love dies. Today, we're examining the test paradox that weakens most men over time, the crown she wears that grows bigger as you shrink smaller, the specific words that shatter female ego and reclaim masculine frame, why these words work on a biological level, why most men will never use them despite knowing they should, and what actually happens when you finally stand up. This is not about being cruel. This is not about revenge. This is about reclaiming yourself from someone who's been slowly erasing you. Stay with me. These are the words that change everything. The test paradox. How her tests slowly destroy you. Before we get to the specific words, you need to understand the mechanism that's been breaking you down, because without understanding this, you won't recognize when to deploy the weapons. The erosion pattern women test men to verify strength, but the constant testing actually weakens most men over time. Think of it like erosion. Each test, each moment where she pushes to see if you'll hold frame, each challenge to your authority, each manipulation to see if you'll cave, takes away a little bit of your backbone. One test, you stay strong. 10 tests, you're getting tired. 100 tests, you're starting to compromise. 1,000 tests, there's nothing left but a hollow shell that says yes, dear, to everything. And here's the truly maddening part. She hates you for it. She hates that you've become weak, even though her tests are what weakened you. She hates that you fail, even though she set you up to fail. She hates what you've become, even though she created it. This is the test paradox. The thing she does to verify your strength is the thing that destroys your strength. And when your strength is destroyed, she loses attraction. But she doesn't stop testing. She escalates, hoping to finally find the strength that her own testing destroyed, the normalization of misery. You know what happens when you're standing in line at the DMV for 3 hours? You start to accept that misery is just part of the process, that this is normal, that everyone experiences this. That's exactly what happens in broken relationships. Men get so used to the constant testing, the manipulation, the drama, that they think this is normal. They think every man goes through this. They look at other couples and assume behind closed doors every guy is getting the same treatment. Wrong. Dead wrong. Some men figured out the code. Some men learned the words that shut this down cold. Some men established boundaries so firm that the testing stopped because she knew pushing would mean losing him entirely. Those men have peace. You don't. Not because you're weaker or less worthy, but because you haven't learned the language that reclaims your throne, the crown. How she grows while you shrink the crown I'm talking about isn't just metaphorical. You can actually see it in how she walks, how she talks to you, how she looks at you, or more accurately, how she looks through you. Like your furniture that occasionally dispenses money and validation. How the crown grows every time you fail a test, the crown gets bigger. She makes an unreasonable demand. You comply. Crown grows. She threatens to leave. You beg. Crown grows. She disrespects you publicly. You laugh it off. Crown grows. She compares you unfavorably to other men. You try harder to measure up. Crown grows. She withholds affection as punishment. You grovel for scraps. Crown grows. And as her crown grows, you shrink. Your voice gets quieter. Your opinions become tentative. Your needs become negotiable. Your boundaries become non-existent. Eventually, you're nothing more than a servant in her kingdom, and she's disgusted by what you've let yourself become. Why she can't stop. Here's what most men don't understand. She doesn't actually want unlimited power over you. On a conscious level, she might think she does. But biologically, psychologically, at the deepest level of female attraction, she needs you to stop her. The testing is actually a plea. Please be strong enough that I don't have to be. The manipulation is actually a prayer. Please see through this so I can finally respect you. Every crown she adds is actually a burden she wishes you'd remove. But you keep letting her wear it, so she keeps adding to it, until it's so heavy she can barely function under the weight of her own unchecked power. And she hates you for allowing it. Weapon 1. The Ordinariness revelation. Now we get to the actual words, the specific phrases that shatter the crown and reclaim your frame. The first weapon, and perhaps the most devastating to female ego, telling her she's ordinary not in a mean way, not in an angry way, but in a matter-of-fact, almost bored way. You know, when we met, I thought you were different, special. But you're just like every other woman I've known. Same insecurities, same games, same drama. You're completely predictable. Why this devastates every woman believes she's the exception. She's not like other girls. She's unique. She's different. She's the special one who's going to be different in your life. Her entire self-concept is built on being extraordinary. When you casually inform her that she's just another actress playing the same tired role, reading from the same script every other woman uses, something fundamental breaks in her self-perception. I watched this happen outside a restaurant once. Couple arguing. She's escalating, going off about how he doesn't appreciate her uniqueness, how he doesn't see how special she is, how he's too ordinary to understand her complexity. This guy, calm as still water, just says, "Special? You're doing exactly what my ex did, word for word." It's like you all went to the same workshop, same techniques, same manipulation, same predictable escalation. There's nothing unique about any of this. She went silent, not quiet, silent, like her brain couldn't process what just happened, because for the first time, someone held up a mirror and showed her she wasn't the star of her own movie. She was just an extra playing a stock character in everyone else's story. The critical delivery, this only works if you deliver it with complete calm and genuine indifference. If there's anger in your voice, she wins. You're emotional, you're affected, you still care what she thinks. If there's sadness, she wins. You're disappointed, which means you had expectations, which means she still has power. But if you deliver it with the same energy you'd use to comment on the weather, flat, factual, slightly bored, it cuts deeper than any emotional outburst ever could, because you're not trying to hurt her. You're just stating an observation, like noticing the sky is blue. Weapon 2. The indifference to abandonment. The second weapon is showing complete indifference to her leaving. The standard female threat women use the threat of leaving as their nuclear option. Maybe I should just find someone who appreciates me. I don't know if this is working anymore. I need space to figure out if I want this. I think we should see other people. Every one of these statements is based on one assumption, that you're terrified of losing her. The moment you show not just acceptance but preference for her leaving, her entire reality crumbles. It's like she's been playing poker thinking she has a royal flush, and you just showed her you weren't even playing the same game. The nuclear counter, she says, "Maybe I should just find someone who appreciates me." You say, "You know what? You're absolutely right. You deserve someone who makes you happy, and clearly that's not me. I'll help you pack." She says, "I think we need space." You say, "I think that's a brilliant idea. Take all the time you need. I've got plans anyway." She says, "My ex has been texting me." You say, "That's nice. Maybe you two can work things out. Let me know if you need help moving your stuff back to his place." Why this works, her threat only has power if you fear the outcome. The moment you demonstrate not just acceptance but active support for her leaving, you've removed her nuclear option entirely. I know a guy who experienced this perfectly. His girlfriend pulled the classic manipulation. "I think we should see other people." Instead of the expected response, panic, negotiation, promises to change, he said, "I think that's a brilliant idea. Actually, there's someone I've been wanting to ask out but couldn't because of this relationship. Thanks for making this easy." The look on her face was, according to him, worth everything. She literally stammered, trying to take it back, suddenly explaining how she didn't really mean it, how she was just testing to see if he cared, how he was supposed to fight for her. He just shrugged and said, "I don't fight for people who don't want to be here. Have a good life." She spent the next 3 months trying to get him back. He moved on in 3 days. Weapon 3. The sexual adequacy reality check. The third weapon shatters what women believe is their ultimate power, sexual value. The female sexual ego. Every woman believes her sexuality is her superpower. It's the ace up her sleeve, the nuclear option, the thing that makes her irreplaceable in your life. She controls sex. She withholds sex as punishment. She uses sex as reward. She's been taught since puberty that sexual access to her body is the highest value she offers. When you casually, almost dismissively indicate that sexually she's nothing special, just average, maybe even below average, the psychological impact is like a nuclear bomb going off in her ego, the delivered verdict. You don't say this crudely. You don't say it to hurt. You say it as a simple observation, like you're discussing the weather. Honestly, the physical part of our relationship has always been just okay. I've had much more passionate connections before, but that's fine. Not everyone can be exceptional in that area. Then you continue whatever you were doing, like you just commented on traffic conditions. Why this destroys, unlike other criticisms that she can deflect or rationalize, this one sticks. Because deep down, every woman fears she might actually be ordinary in bed. She can tell herself you're wrong about her personality. She can dismiss your opinions about her character. She can rationalize your complaints about her behavior. But sexual adequacy? That hits at the core of female self-worth in a way that's almost impossible to defend against. I've seen this completely break women who were using sex as their primary control mechanism. Suddenly, their ultimate weapon has been revealed as a toy gun. Their strongest card is actually a 2 of clubs, and they have no backup plan. Weapon 4. The agreement method, this weapon, breaks women's brains completely because it violates the entire framework they expect. How it works? She makes a statement designed to hurt you, to make you defensive, to get a reaction, standard attack. Maybe I should just find someone who appreciates me. Weak response, no baby, I appreciate you. Please don't leave. I'll do better. Strong response, you know what? You're absolutely right. You deserve someone who makes you happy, and clearly that's not me. I'll help you pack. Standard attack, you're not a real man. Weak response, that's not fair. I work hard, I provide, Strong response, you're right. A real man wouldn't tolerate this behavior. Thanks for pointing that out. Standard attack, the spark is gone. This relationship is dead. Weak response, no it's not. We can fix this. Let me plan something romantic. Strong response, I've been feeling the same way. We should probably end this before we waste more of each other's time. Why agreement destroys the test women's attacks are rarely actual statements. They're tests disguised as declarations. She's not actually telling you the relationship is over. She's testing whether you'll panic, whether you'll fight, whether you need her more than she needs you. When you agree instead of defending, you break the entire framework of the test. It's like someone throwing a punch expecting resistance, but you step aside and let them fall face first into their own momentum. There was a viral video of exactly this, a woman berating her man in public, saying he's pathetic, he's weak, he's not what she thought he was. This guy, instead of arguing, just nods and says, "You're absolutely right. I am pathetic for putting up with this." But that changes today. Then he literally just walked away, left her standing there in the middle of the mall. The comments were split, women saying he was wrong to abandon her, men saying it was the first time they'd seen someone handle it perfectly. Weapon 5. The comparison reversal women constantly compare their relationships to others. Friends, boyfriends, social media couples, fictional romance. They see someone else's highlight reel and suddenly you're inadequate. The standard female comparison, Sarah's boyfriend takes her to nice restaurants every week. Michelle's husband surprised her with a trip to Paris. Ashley's boyfriend always posts about how much he loves her. The weak man tries to match these comparisons. I'll take you to a nice restaurant. I'll plan a trip. I'll post more about you. The strong man reverses the comparison, the reversal. You know, Jake's girlfriend never complains about guys' nights. Sarah never threatens to leave when she doesn't get her way. Michelle doesn't test her husband constantly. Maybe I picked the wrong type of woman. Watch how quickly she stops comparing when the comparison doesn't favor her. I knew a guy whose girlfriend constantly compared him to her friend's boyfriend. Tyler always posts about Emma. You never post about me. After months of this, he finally said, "You're right. Tyler posts about Emma constantly." Of course, Emma also cooks for Tyler, supports his hobbies, respects his time with friends, and doesn't create drama every week. Maybe Tyler found a better woman. She never brought up Tyler again. Weapon 6. The thriving without her, perhaps the most powerful weapon. Showing you're genuinely happier without her. The expected response to her leaving when she leaves, either actually leaving or threatening to, she expects you to fall apart, desperate texts begging her to come back, long paragraphs about how much you miss her, apologies for everything you've ever done wrong, promises to change, to be better, to give her whatever she wants. Visible suffering that proves she was essential to your happiness. The devastating reality. Instead, you thrive. You don't chase. You don't call. You don't text desperate messages. Instead, You live. And not just live, you live better. You're suddenly doing all those things she said were immature. You're seeing those friends she said were bad influences. You're pursuing those hobbies she called a waste of time. You're going to places she never wanted to go. She expected her absence to be your punishment. Instead, it becomes your vacation. She thought she was the sun in your solar system. Instead, she realizes she was just clouds blocking your light. The psychological impact this creates what psychologists call an existential crisis. Her entire self-worth was built on being essential to your happiness. And you just proved she was actually preventing it. The pattern is so predictable, it's almost scientific. Woman leaves dramatically, expecting man to chase. Man doesn't chase, starts posting pictures of him genuinely enjoying life. Woman suddenly has an emergency that requires his help. Man doesn't respond or responds minimally. Woman shows up at his place to get her things that she doesn't actually need. Man is polite but distant. Woman suddenly wants to talk about us every single time. Why most men won't use these weapons. Now let me tell you the hard truth about why you're probably not going to use any of these weapons, even though you know they work. Fear of loss, your brain screams, if I say these things, she'll leave. Reality, if you don't say these things, she's already left emotionally. You're just her servant, not her man. You've already lost what you're afraid of losing. You just haven't admitted it yet. The comfort of familiar misery. It's easier to stay in the misery you know than to risk the unknown. Walking on eggshells is terrible, but it's familiar. Saying yes to everything is soul-crushing, but it's predictable. Being disrespected daily is painful, but it's what you're used to. Change is terrifying, even when staying the same is destroying you. The Disney brainwashing you've been programmed since childhood that love requires sacrifice, suffering, and endless patience. That fighting for the relationship means accepting any treatment. That happy wife, happy life is wisdom rather than surrender. That being a good partner means being endlessly accommodating. All lies. But lies you've internalized so deeply that speaking truth feels like betrayal. Fear of being the bad guy you've been taught that standing up for yourself makes you the villain. That having boundaries makes you controlling. That refusing to accept poor treatment makes you unreasonable. That prioritizing your own well-being makes you selfish. So you keep accepting garbage treatment because at least you're not the bad guy. You're just the guy who's slowly dying inside while everyone tells him what a good man he is. What actually happens when you stand up. Let me tell you what actually happens when a man finally uses these weapons, because it's not what you expect. Outcome 1. She respects you finally, in some cases, when you finally stand firm, when you finally refuse to be a doormat, when you finally speak the truth she needed to hear, something shifts. She stops testing because the testing finally revealed what she was looking for, strength. She stops manipulating because manipulation no longer works. She stops the games because games are boring when the other person won't play. Her attraction returns. The relationship transforms. Peace is finally possible. But this only happens if she's capable of respect. If she's been looking for strength and just needed you to show it. Outcome 2. She leaves, which saves you in other cases. Standing firm causes her to leave. And this is actually the best possible outcome because it reveals what you needed to know. She was only there for what she could extract. She was only staying because you were controllable. She had no genuine love or respect, just entitlement to your resources and compliance. Her leaving saves you from wasting more years on someone incapable of actual partnership. Outcome 3, the extinction burst. Sometimes when you finally stand firm, she escalates dramatically before either outcome 1 or 2 happens. This is called an extinction burst. When a manipulation tactic stops working, the person using it intensifies it dramatically before finally giving up. She might cry harder, threaten more severely, create bigger drama, bring in reinforcements, her family, friends, social media. This is actually a good sign. It means the old tactics aren't working and she's desperately trying to regain control. If you hold frame through the extinction burst, you get to outcome 1 or 2. If you cave during the extinction burst, you go right back to being her servant, but worse, because now she knows exactly how hard she has to push to break you. The ultimate truth, you're saving her too. Here's something most men don't understand. When you knock off that crown, when you refuse to play the games, when you stand up and reclaim your backbone, you're not just saving yourself, you're saving her too. From what? From herself. From the monster that unlimited power creates. From the misery of being with a man she can't respect. A woman with an unchecked ego, with a crown so big she can't see past it, with control so complete she has nothing left to conquer. That woman is miserable. She's bored. She's unfulfilled. She's wondering why she feels so empty when she has everything she thought she wanted. She's looking at you with contempt, but she also hates herself for what she's become. When you finally stand up, you give her what she actually needed all along. A man strong enough to stop her from destroying both of you. Final thoughts. The choice before you, you now have the weapons. You understand how they work. You know why they're necessary. The question is, will you use them? Most men won't. They'll read this, they'll nod along, they'll even agree with everything I've said. Then they'll go right back to yes, dear, and walking on eggshells and dying a little more each day. Because it's easier. Because it's familiar. Because they're more afraid of conflict than they are of losing themselves. But some men, the ones who still have a spark of self-respect left, will read this and something will click. They'll recognize that they don't have to live like this. That being treated with basic respect isn't asking too much. That loving someone doesn't mean accepting abuse. That partnership shouldn't feel like servitude. Those men will use these words, and their lives will change. Not because the words are magic, but because the words represent a fundamental shift from servant to equal, from doormat to man, from her victim to your own person. The choice is yours, but choose quickly. Every day you wait is another day you lose yourself a little more, and eventually there won't be anything left to save. Drop a comment about your experience. Have you used any of these approaches? What happened? Are you ready to reclaim your throne? Subscribe, because this channel will continue providing the hard truths about relationship dynamics that save men from destroying themselves. Stand up, speak truth, and never apologize for refusing to be someone's servant.